You know, the biggest problem about being a level 2 player, which for me is a few tunes but no real freedom, no improvisation, the tunes are played the same way every time. If you needed to transpose them, then it wouldn't be smooth, so the language isn't being practiced. The biggest problem with that level is that people don't know the problems they've got, and they're trying to solve problems with stylistic, musical things. In other words, they're reaching for things that they want to play and people they want to sound like, rather than fixing the core skills and changing habits, because how you work at this stage is as important as what you work on. Crucial. So a simple example of that might be somebody's playing, let's say, Perdido. I have it up on my screen, so we'll go with that. And they've practiced like this. Very simple left-hand chords. There's no metronome on, there's no track on, the time is faltering, there's no phrasing in there. They're not aware of the language they're playing some of the time. I mean, this is a fairly straightforward one, it's 2-5-1 in B flat, but despite that, they're not thinking linguistically, they're thinking in terms of memory, right? They're playing it as many times as they need to so they can remember it and not get something wrong, and then wanting to build upon that. So then they come to me and say, but how do I take that to the next level? Now the issue is that is not cooked, because we can't have a conversation about the chord progressions. We can't change anything without it all falling apart, and therefore we can't build upon it, right? Because when you're not playing skills, you're just playing a tune by rote, by memory. So here's a way you could start to open that up more. I'm going to take just the last head here. Here we go. Begin by practicing shells in the left hand, full chords in the right hand is a great skill to have. So this is C minor 7th, F 7th. So bottom note and top note of C minor 7, bottom note and top note of F7, and your inverted F7, B flat major 7, there's a simple one, or if you're at that stage where you can do a bit more, then move the 1 up to 2 in the right hand on those major 7ths, right? Now let's see what happens if we just practice like that. Here we go. Not even doing anything fancy rhythmically yet, right? So practicing like that alone without a melody is as valuable for me, if not more valuable, than having the melody in there all the time. Why? Because people are practicing the melody and clinging on to that. And then guess what's going to happen when you improvise? There isn't going to be one anymore. Guess what's going to happen when you play with other people? They're not going to play it the way it's written. Then what's going to happen when you're playing another tune that has virtually the same chord progression, but it's in a different key? You're not playing the language or the chord progression in your heart if you're only playing the melody and everything lives around that. And there's nothing wrong with the melody and knowing that and knowing what to do with it, of course, before those comments start coming in. But then the language isn't at the forefront. And if the language is at the forefront, then we can do more with it. So just by practicing those right hand chords and left hand shells, now we're ready for comping, of course, which is what we were just doing. We're also ready to open up the melody with some right hand chords as well. So we might end up doing some stuff like this. This is where I've got the chords written out with their numbers, by the way, because they're 2-5-1s in B flat. If you don't know what that means, watch some of my other videos. We've got lots on that sort of thing. I'll try and link some stuff below. So I'm going to slow this down to 80% just to demonstrate it, okay? See how it's this sort of thing, just to keep the melody going with the chord, right? But you've got more happening, okay? If I do this more like 100%, you get this kind of effect. We're not going deep into this, it's just to give you a taste for what I'm talking about today. Sometimes it's hard to do, and that's fine. But you will be able to build stylistically from that as well when you want to do more than just that, right? If you're enjoying this lesson, would you please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when there's a new video. A positive comment in the comments section really helps as well. And if it's time to level up your playing and get some freedom, then consider joining us on Jazz Skills. More about that at the end. For now, let's get back to the lesson. Next, practicing just the chords in the left hand is a great thing to do. Let me get to the solo section here. Here we go. So all I'm going to do is simple left hand chords. Nothing fancy. I was about to try and do something fancy. I'm really trying to discipline myself. Maybe some inversions. But I'm not getting too fancy. It can be as simple as this, right? Because if that's how you can hear it and feel it, and you can do this at your level, you don't have to do any of the stuff I was doing. If you can feel that, then you have a chance of disassociating yourself from the melody during the improv section. Here's a problem that most people don't realize they have yet. When they start learning to improvise, you know what really suffers? Left hand. They start dropping chords, dropping time, and not knowing where they are. And if you're enforcing that progression, that chord progression all the time, and this hand is starting to become second nature and you don't have to think about it consciously anymore, it becomes autopilot, then you can free up more here, because otherwise I'll show people a line or something or how to build lines. So I'm just going to demonstrate some simple improv, well, some improv, whatever comes, but I'm really trying to demonstrate the left hand, so we're not talking about the improv lines here. Here we go. So I've got to not really even know what the left hand is doing. Then we can free up, because I think there's this misconception that it's the tune and we accompany it. Yes, but everything is built on that chord progression. So that is something that if you're looking to level up your playing and start to get some freedom, start to work on that with everything you're doing. So what I would encourage you to do is focus away from the stylistic stuff for now, come back to that, but work on the substance. So for example, the kind of things that are stylistic are, people say, well, how do I play walking bass? I want to be able to do more, but they're not playing the other stuff in time already, so that's not the right time to be doing it. Or they'll say, but what about stride, and what about block chords, and locked hands, and all these other things? They're stylistic, right? Even improv, I wouldn't be worrying about it until you've got a few tunes down where you're really playing them from a different perspective, the perspective of the composer, rather than what ends up happening in classical piano lessons, which isn't, I believe, what classical music was really about, but separating that role of composer and performer. So don't worry about the stylistic. Those things will take care of themselves when there's something to hang them on. Because if I do start showing people walking bass, by the way, I almost never do it. I might do it sometimes if I'm, playing in a duo or something. You don't need to be able to play walking bass and say, what are the rhythms in the left hand? It feels more like one hand with 10 fingers, to be honest, rather than two hands with 5 each. So style versus substance. What most people do is they try and fill in this boredom in their sound with the wrong things. They watch a video and say, hey, that's cooler, that's got walking bass on it, maybe I should do that because my stuff's boring. You know what I'd love to encourage you to do? Be willing to forget about how you sound for a little while. So this year, why not just take a back seat from that, learn to fall in love with the skills, fall in love with the progressions, fall in love with working on components, not just a masterpiece all the time, in just playing chords, just playing comping, just left hand, and see what changes. Because I promise you, things will change when you start to work like that, and you'll start to see what other tunes have in common, whether they're in the same key or not, especially if you can take this tune and put it in another key, right? Even just the chords, that's great. It doesn't have to be the melody. Just the chords will show you so much more about what you're doing in your own key. It's not just so you can accompany a singer, right? So for example, this tune is 2-5-1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1 in B flat, 3, 4, 6 dominant that leads us back to 2. And that's the A section, really. So surely we should be able to do that in C, right? 2, 5 and 1. C major 7, 2, 3, 4, A7, D minor 7, G7, right? Now that will teach you more about what you're doing, whether this is something you need to do or not. So what people do is they say, but I don't need to accompany a singer, so I'm not going to do it. Or I saw a video where they say you have to play everything in 12 keys. Do you know what? Whatever happens in the comments below, what I'm going to say about this is it's okay at this stage if you're not doing that. Don't worry about it as long as it's more than one key. If you can comp the chords in more than one key, you're going to get a lot more freedom. So I wish you well with your musical journey this year. Start to focus on your skills, not just tunes. Use tunes to learn skills. That's what we do on Jazz Skills. So come and see us if you're ready to level up your playing, where we won't just throw information at you and drown you in it, but we'll guide you through it, what you should be working on, how to practice, what to do at different stages, and support from me, plus a vibrant community as well. So good luck with it, be patient and fall in love with the work. See you next time. Bye for now.